Hello everyone, this is a look at the LEGO Ideas set called Women of NASA. It's a much cooler set actually, once I got my hands on the pieces, than I thought it was going to be. With this set you build 3 little dioramas or vignettes that hold up 4 figures, and the biggest question asked here is why is Miss Katherine Johnson not included in the set, especially when she was designed to be included? And the answer is simply a matter of permissions and licensing. LEGO was not able to secure the license and permission to include her likeness in this set. The Margaret Hamilton scene is based on a photograph of her, which they have turned into 3D in a way. It's not an exact replica of it, but I think it makes for probably the least interesting build, although it's not quite as boring as it appears. I mean, getting the stack of books is no big deal, but I actually like what they did with the wall and the build for it. And this uses prints. So there's a print for her nameplate and a print for the blackboard on the back. No stickers are included in the set whatsoever, actually. I like how they attached the wall back here. Just a nice, fairly simple technique. And the vertical brown thing just represents a coat hanger. Up close, the figure has a squiggly pattern for the textile of her garment, which looks like it's a little bit low in resolution to me, a little bit low in detail. I wish they had gone with some finer lines to represent the pattern, but the face I think looks great. I really like what they did for the glasses, and I think they captured her smile pretty accurately actually. So I think it kind of captures the character, or captures the real person. And they've also done a nice job with the legs going down to the feet. It's just printed really well. The level of production is fine. It's high quality, and it does use dual molded legs to good effect, and that's something that should always be done whenever possible, since they have the technology and the technique available. And this does have a second face, still happy and smiling, just a little bit more serious, and looks pretty appropriate. I think this kind of captures her eyebrows a little bit better than the front version. If you're a little bit let down by the build here, though, I do have to point out that there have been much nicer LEGO Ideas builds that go with Margaret Hamilton. They just happened to come out in the set that had these two things, because a bunch of software that she developed and or worked on substantively one way or another went into making these things go where they were supposed to and bring these little people back safely. Nancy Roman is nicknamed the mother of Hubble, and she's depicted here with her baby, the Hubble telescope. I'm actually going to move the figure out of the way for a moment and show you that up close, but focus on the build here first, which includes a large printed panel piece that represents a photograph of the Cone Nebula. It was a picture taken in 2002. I don't know the significance of that one in particular, why they chose it over something that's a little bit possibly more popular in popular culture or something, but it is what it is. It's great to get yet another print. Probably a lot of people will be just jumping down to the comment section to say that I have built the telescope wrong or I've posed it wrong, but I just built and posed it the way they showed in the instructions. The little stand is on a hinged joint that allows you to turn this up and down. You can also rotate it around if you want to see the back end of it with the transceiver that faces towards Earth, but this is supposed to represent kind of the business end of it that faces out towards space and actually captures all the images. This is essentially the lens cap that comes down to protect it. Unfortunately, that is not able to close up entirely, but I like the way that it's depicted here. It's really funny that they used a garbage can, but it's a pretty perfect piece there. It's a pretty perfect piece. I haven't gotten a lot of those garbage cans in light gray. I don't remember the last set that had one, but I think that's a fairly rare color. These panels, the solar panels, are a new exclusive print. Those are 1x4 tiles that they've got there, and they also use this relatively new piece up here, which is an awesome piece that I look forward to absolutely hoarding. They are so useful, and they've stuck it into a hollow stud there. But yeah, just an incredibly useful piece. But altogether, for the size of this build, I think it looks great. And I think it looks great from every angle, just so long as your brain doesn't get caught up on the fact that this is a trash can here. If you just look at the shapes, then I think it's pretty brilliant, I would say. I think the figure of Miss Roman is a really nice one as well. I like the necklace. I like the depth that they brought into the torso with just a little bit of gray shadowing, and also the creases, just has, I think, an appropriate Legoification of this outfit. And I like what they did with the face too, especially with the extra shaping around the eyes on the underside, and also the two-toned glasses, the rims with the sand green and the dark green. That's just really nice detailing. Just captured a really nice expression here as well. There's a little bit more to see on that face, especially with the glasses with the hair removed. But that just seems like a good head, a good face to have in Lego form, period. It just would look good on many different custom characters and probably some other, real life based figures as well. Then here's sort of the de facto centerpiece of the set with Sally Ride on the right. I remember when she was making waves and headlines, she was America's first woman in space. And then Mae Jemison is on the left. She's the first non-Caucasian woman ever to go into space. Both of them served with the Space Shuttle program. Thus, there is a large depiction of a space shuttle system that kind of dominates the entire set, not to mention this vignette. This is a really cool build that made some nice uses of pieces and makes for a nice display piece. Just good uses of the wedge plates especially, nice shaping overall. I think this is the first time that I've seen the relatively new round 1x1 plates with bar on side used in white. I'll show you those a little bit better with the mounts for the main engines, but there is a major problem with this build here, and that's the relative sizing between the shuttle itself, the lander, the orbiter / lander, and the rest of the system. The main big old fuel tank assembly is dwarfed, and the SRBs are looking pretty tiny. So it's kind of a super deformed representation that they've come up with here, with the shuttle getting most of the prominence in this display. Kind of not realistic in that way, but it still looks pretty cool, and you can take the individual components apart. So the SRBs are just attached with Technic pins from the sides, so you can pull those out. Sometimes the pins will want to stay behind, but take those off and you can put it into its next state. They do help to stabilize the entire build, but they're not critical. So here's just the orbiter lander with the tanks, and then you can just discard the tanks by just pulling this entire assembly off, leaving behind the very nice shuttle, which is definitely the highlight to me of the entire set. Too bad you can't open up the cargo bay. That would have been extra nice, but the proportions here look pretty good. I especially like how they've attached the engines back here, and down in there are those 1x1 pieces that I mentioned. They actually allow you to rotate these from side to side ever so slightly. You can also adjust the angles of the engines overall if you want to a bit, so you can get that top one facing up. That works out well. And just this is a nice mini model just by itself. I mean, they could have sold this, and maybe they will at some point in the future sell just a slight revision of this as its own little, $3 set or something. Here's a closer look at the figure for Sally Ride, and I think her torso has the best print in the set. Just a great level of detail there. It has depth, but it has fine details, and yet it doesn't look like it's trying to be too realistic at the same time. Just has a very nice balance, I think, between capturing some realism and keeping it in toy form that's very compatible with the looks of modern standard Lego figures. And it does have print on the back, which I think is equally good. There's not as much to see here, but I think that it's appropriate. And this is, of course, another figure that has a second face. So 2 possible expressions. The most serious one here, I think this is a reused face. Pretty sure that I've seen this, both faces for this head before. The other ones are actually new, but I think that it works out okay. The hairpiece, I think, is fine. Not necessarily the very best match, but to reality, but probably the closest match that LEGO had available in their inventory. And then here's Mae Jemison, who comes with her helmet. I'll just take that out of her hand momentarily. It doesn't really get held there very well. It's kind of sitting in place, but another really good torso here with a good level of detail. Lots of depth in this one for sure. Lots and lots of depth. And another just good looking figure, a very pleasant face, again with similar detailing or similar shaping of the eyes to the Nancy Roman figure, or at least the main larger smiling face version of her, and really good detailing on the back here with the zipper. And I like the 2 different tones of the silver with the brighter color, and also the I guess they call it dark pearl gray, which is technically the gunmetal gray, but here I think it's really just a couple of colors overlaid, but whatever it is technically, I think it just looks really good. And she does have an alternate face, which is a slightly more serious expression, but I think still works out well. I like the shaping of the eyes works nicely, and I do want to go ahead and put the helmet on just so you can see the slightly more complete form. That looks great to me. With the suit, that goes together really, really nicely. I'm very happy to see that this helmet and visor design that LEGO has used for so many years would work, still in a relatively realistic depiction of a character. So this is nice. So really an enjoyable, high quality set. I think it definitely exceeds my expectations quite significantly with the figures and the builds alike. I appreciate very much the inclusion of all prints for everything with no stickers. I think that just everything here was done well. It depicts things that are just very positive, good for education in general, and I think it's just all good in general. However, I will address the elephant in the room that fuels discussion worldwide about things like this. The fact that LEGO would obviously never make a set called Men of NASA because there would be riots, and that's a problem. It's a problem for this set. It's a problem for the potential of that set, how people would respond, how the company would respond. I think that segregating the genders out in general is a bad policy, not in terms of politics, but just in terms of the progression of humanity. I think there are plenty of scenarios where gender does matter, but in science, technology, engineering, and math, I think it should not matter in an ideal world. Definitely, I think that data would show unequivocally that the accomplishments and contributions of women have been underrepresented and under-celebrated in modern society. I think that that's factual, not an opinion. I personally believe that is wrong and needs to be fixed, but I believe this is not the right way to fix it. You don't combat inequality with more inequality. I'd like to see this be LEGO's last time separating people out by their gender unnecessarily, and I'd like to see them set a really positive example for kids by showing that people are people, and great contributions of people to the progression of humanity, technology, and society should be celebrated unequivocally and without conditions. End of rant. Anyway, thank you for tuning in. I hope that I showed you everything you wanted to see about this set, and I hope to have a chance to talk to you again soon because I'm always working on something new. Catch you later.